Is the dollar done and the entire world just doesn't know it yet?
Even with the manipulated nominal prices on silver, it maintained your ability to buy the same goods and services between 1913 and 2024.
What would President Lynette Zang do to economically get this nation back on track? SD Bullion is at it again, but this time with a monster box full of Silver Tree of Life coins. Enter today at sdbullion.com/sweepstakes. Hi, Lynette. Welcome back.
Glad to be here, Yankee. Thank you so much for having me.
So we're going to talk a lot about gold and silver today, but first, I'd like to take a quick economic baseline. 3 reality red pills for us to swallow. Well, the first thing is the U.S. federal debt. It's going to likely break $36 trillion by the end of the year. Actually, it might break it by the election because we're going deeper in the hole, an additional $1 trillion every 100 days. And that doesn't include, unfunded liabilities like Social Security and Medicare, that's like $175 trillion or whatever, or the derivatives assets in our financial institutions. That could be, quadrillions?
It was quadrillions back when I counted it at the biz back in, I think 2009 or something like that. So, and at that point it was 1.42 quadrillion. What is it now? Who knows?
That's the first thing. The second economic baseline is that there is no signs of any fiscal responsibility by our government. None. This is a problem on both sides of the aisle. The third is our central bank, the Federal Reserve. It's like they're playing games with us, Lynette. They're about to formally give up their pathetic inflation fight, cutting rates in September. That could be the first of many cuts. So we got debt, fiscal spending, and inflation. Give me your State of the Union on those, Lynette.
Wow. Okay. Well, first of all, I don't think that we're really seeing all of the debt that we're actually dealing with. And the system is not designed to pay off that debt because then that would take dollars out of the system. So there's really only one way for that to go, and that is north. And when you have all of that debt, you have to pay all of that interest. And we've been compounding interest for such a long time now. And anybody with a credit card that doesn't pay off any of the principal, let alone all of the interest, knows that once that interest starts compounding, you ain't ever getting out of debt, period. And the 2 and 10 yield curve started to revert, right? That is not a good sign. My question is that intentional or unintentional? Not really. Are they behind the 8 ball? Because of course they are, but they also need a huge crisis to push their agenda forward. When you had gold that was part of the monetary system, it created fiscal responsibility because it created limitations on how much debt can be grown. That's not, we haven't had gold to create and force fiscal responsibility, honestly, since 1913. Look at the value of the currency in terms of purchasing power going back to then, and you can see how much more money was cut and created as they started to reduce the backing of gold. It used to be this little 1/20th of an ounce of gold backed a dollar bill. Well, then 1913, it was $2. This one little 20th of an ounce of gold backed $2.40, right? And then ultimately by 1971, after there was a massive run on the dollar, no backing at all. So, it's just about promises to get elected. It is not about fiscal responsibility. What do I need to say to get you to vote for me? I have to do it once I'm in there, or maybe I will do it and just grow the debt more because when you know you're going bankrupt, and if you're given another credit card, or if you still have room on your credit cards, what do? You charge, charge, charge. And frankly, they know that this currency has to reset. So why not? I want fiscal responsibility, right?
Right.
I want sound flipping money to protect my purchasing power, because I have to work for those dollars that they can just eliminate the value of, and quite honestly, were they ever really fighting inflation? That's garbage. They create this, and wow, after all of this, why look at the economy, it's so strong. No, it's all this crap that's been sloshing around in the system since 2008. It has to go somewhere. It doesn't just evaporate, and there's so much cheap money yet in the system. And so they wonder why their tightening, right, didn't really work. And look at the nominal price of the stock market. It's because of all of this money printing. It has nothing to do, and as far as picking winners and losers or a free market economy, give me a break. We've been trained to think that the stock market reveals the true underlying part of the economy and how the economy is really doing. But quite honestly, you can see since 1971 how the system has been systematically financialized. In other words, having absolutely everything turned into a financial trading piece of garbage. I'm sorry, but it just is, right? It's about Wall Street trading. It's about bank trading. FD flippin' IC insured banks. They make most of their revenue through trading, and they use our deposits to do that with.
So what do you say to those who still hold the majority of their wealth in the stock market and their cash in the banks?
Good luck to you, as my mom would say. When you look at the prices for everything, whether it's food, it's water, it's air, it's energy, it's sneakers, I don't care what it is not a free market that's determining those prices. It is a trading market that is determining those prices. And then, to your point earlier, all of those big derivative bets that are put on top of this mess that we cannot see. We cannot see what's happening in that opaque market. But what we can see is garbage, right? I mean, when the tide goes out, you see all of this stuff, and that reverted yield curve means that, typically when you look on the charts, you can see this very clearly, is that when that reversion happens, that's when you're getting that recession, except that this time, I believe, way bigger than a recession, because this is it. This is the end of the currency's life cycle. To your point, it isn't that debt is not sustainable. It's not payable.
Is the dollar done and the entire world just doesn't know it yet?
I think there are parts of the world that absolutely do know it. But yes, 100%. The day of the dollar's dominance are absolutely done. And quite honestly, we've been moving in this direction since 99. The euro was created to take over for the dollar. It's not doing very much better, quite honestly. But every single fiat currency is at the same place, with virtually no purchasing power, reliant solely on the confidence of the public, because the public cannot help. This is what they knew when they created this system. Cannot help but think that the currency must regain some of its purchasing power, but it never, ever, ever does. So yeah, the dollar is done. the dollar has been done for a while.
What is the prescription? Or actually, better yet, since we have less than 2 months to go before our U.S. presidential election, what would President Lynette Zang do to economically get this nation back on track?
Quite frankly, I don't want the job. However, if I were lucky enough to get the job, we would really have to take a look at how we could, number one, create a currency that is actually backed by sound constitutional money. What a concept. That would indeed create a level of hardships for most people because the system has to reset. And so unfortunately, we have to swallow some very, very bitter medicine. But we also have to think ahead to our children and our children's children and all the future generations. And I respect so much what you do, Yankee, which is do we really need a Federal Reserve? Not if we have sound money, we don't need a Federal Reserve. Not if fiscal responsibility is required. And quite honestly, I'm watching Zimbabwe and what they're doing there by backing their currency with gold, right? To try and regain that public confidence. And yet, since they made that the new ZIG, the sixth currency, it's not convertible. So what Lynette Zang as president would do would be to make the currency convertible into gold once again, because that is the only way to hold a government's toes to the fire. And I don't mind doing that. That's why I give everybody the links to all my research on the YouTube channel, right? Don't take my word for it. Do your own due diligence, but that's what I would do. We've got to reset the currency. There's no avoiding that. There's no such thing as a soft landing because the system has been so sorely abused, misused, and taken over that it has to reset. It has to. But there's something else that I would do, which is grow a whole lot more food in this country. Food becomes the single biggest issue for people. And if they are hungry and hopeless and they can't feed their children, you're going to get revolution. So I suggest a quiet revolution. And I suggest so strongly that people become their own central bank by taking this garbage that has absolutely zero value and converting it into sound money globally. Sound money movement, that's what I'm about.
That's great. I'd vote for you, Lynette. And I don't even know.
I don't want the job.
I know. There's a lot of things I think we could do fiscally and monetarily, and the Fed love it, Lynette. Am I dreaming here?
No. And first of all, how can you have a dream come true if you don't dream it to begin with, right?
Amen.
And so really what you're talking about here is power back to the public. But we have to have a statewide movement to legalize gold and silver as legal tender once again and force the federal government to our will, like it was in the Constitution, where the individual was the head, supported by the states, and the federal government was supposed to support the states that were supposed to support the individuals. What a flipping concept.
I don't think the general populace knows that we are bankrupt, that our dollar is dead.
True. But when they figure it out, that's the importance for the central banks and the governments on the rate and speed of inflation. Their job was just to regulate that rate and speed so that the inflation wasn't high enough for the public to know and lose confidence in the leaders. And, frankly, they blew it. And even though they want to tell us that inflation is under control and near that 2%, It's garbage. Anybody that's going to the grocery store knows that it's garbage. Anybody that's got to go to a doctor's appointment or pay an insurance bill or anything. And so that's really the big threat, is that loss of confidence. From 1913 to 1924, I believe that the inflation in food was something like 2,500%. Now, even with the manipulated nominal prices on silver during that same period of time, and as of the close last Friday, silver was up something like 2,900 and change percentage. So it maintained your ability to buy the same goods and services between 1913 and 2024. But gold was up somewhere in excess of 12,000%. Okay, so probably protected you more realistically if we're looking at, how much it really costs to eat these days. But this is why gold is the primary currency metal. Silver is the secondary currency metal. I like this for barterability for the reason that I just said. When I look at it, it holds its purchasing power to just maintain where you are. But I like gold for both barterability because of taxes, illnesses, so medical stuff, as well as growth. Because while you and I are talking about all of this really horrendous stuff, there is always opportunity in change and in crisis. And the real wealth, not this fake wealth, but the real wealth does not disappear or evaporate. It merely shifts location. And so holding gold means you're really holding your true level of purchasing power, and you therefore have the ability to buy those income producing assets when they are dirt cheap and have that wealth shift your way. Ba-bam. It's so easy. It is not rocket science. It is not complicated. It is just so easy. Sound money. That's the answer to survive this. That's the answer in the new monetary system. That's my battle. That's your battle. That's our battle. That's the global battle.
Yes.